Good morning. Welcome to B Cube Sunday morning. It is a beautiful day. It is a spring-like um, December day here. And if you guys have got snow and sleet and rain and misery, oh damn, I'm sorry, but we're not. Um, that's my empathy coming through. I've been studying under the master Donald J. Trump. Um, so we are BQ Press. We've got this is the day when Brenda and Clare and Phil take over and tell me to go away. I'll let them introduce their guest, but I will just remind everybody that on the 20th of December, the open call we have ends. And if you wonder why I look totally exhausted and worn down, and it's because that open call we expected 120 submissions has topped 300,
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
and it's going to be a great book, an epic book, and a book that will make um, it's just going to be good.
Yeah. Now,
Karen Anderson is our co-editor.
okay? Is this
Oh,
the
very good.
Liberties too?
Alternative Liberties 2.
Okay.
And this is the book that's going to make me rich. I mean, all of you guys are writers, right?
Right.
You've all known that at some point that next book is going to be the one.
I'm not sure I can get my story up for you, Bob. So don't get
Well, we haven't finished talking yet. That's
Okay,
when
yeah,
it
you talk to me.
closes.
My issue is I have surgery coming up in January.
That's okay. I might finish it for you and send you the file and say,
Okay.
love it.
Okay. Yeah, let me talk to me at some point about it because I have issues
will.
that are I can't do anything about.
Now, the other thing too is reminder that all of you are invited to RadCon. I'm going to be sending out their note for you to respond to if you want to, because I get to be their editor guest of honor. And one of my favorite writers to edit is David Gerald, and he's the writer guest of honor. So we're going to be calling it Geezer Con. So that means you can't come, Claire.
I can be the token.
But the rest of you guys are all. Oh, wait a second. That's not good. So anyway, I'll be the editor guest of honor at RadCon in Washington State on the February weekend of President's Day weekend. It's generally a good con. They love having writers, and they're making it their goal this year to completely restore their writing creds, and they had some good ones. I have been there and seen Larry Niven tending bar, Gardner DeZwas sitting in the diner, just sitting there waiting for somebody to come talk to him, and they always did. It's one of them cons where we don't hide our guests of honor in a room in the back. We let them get out and encourage them to talk to people. And that makes a far more interesting convention. So, that said, I'm going to disappear and let you guys run your show.
Okay. Well, those of you who are regulars to the Sunday brunch know Brenda and me. We're getting to know Clare. So I want to go directly to our guest today, to Sherwood Smith,
Yay.
a formidable force in the world of fantasy, romance, and history. And she's got some space operas out there as well. Known her forever. Sherwood, introduce yourself.
Well, Phil really did it, except if I was a major force, it's in a pond this size. But I'm a member of the Writers Consortium Bookview Cafe, along with Phil and Brenda. And if you're not familiar with it, we all work together, sharing our various areas of expertise to get our books out. Old ones, either refurbished or issued as they were with new covers and new work.
Mhm.
So it was through that I met Phil and Brenda. I'm in Southern California, so I'm not up in beautiful Oregon. Down here it's smoggy and it's going to be hot later, typical December weather.
Really?
Anyway,
Yeah.
so we were
We're
talking about,
under a flood watch up here on
Oh,
the mountain.
How can you be under a flood watch at your altitude? That's ridiculous.
We're drained by 3 major rivers and hundreds of creeks. You can't walk 100 yards without having to go over a culvert, which are now
Amazing.
brimful into the ditch. And creeks
I
are,
looked at your weather report. It was
yeah,
rain.
Yeah, it has been raining hard. I measured. I'm sitting here 150 feet above sea level. But I'm in the middle of town and it's never going to flood. I'm armored by technology. Phil has seen this place. I live like on a cliff. So it's
Yeah.
fine, I think.
yeah. You've been up to the mountain,
Yes.
and we hiked along one of our gorgeous rivers, which is now almost up to the path.
Wow,
Yeah.
I remember that. I
Yeah,
remember it being barely visible down there in the draw or wherever it was.
right. And the fish viewing window, which cuts into one of the creeks, the water is now at the top of the
Oh
window.
my gosh.
There's
That is
hardly,
a lot of water.
yeah, that
Well, you know
is.
what we say around here though is that we need the rain, and it's true that like sometime along about next August when they're talking about wildfires, everyone will say, "Well, thank goodness we've had a lot of rain last winter."
Yeah, except that it's too warm to be snowing even. See, government camp is raining. Timberline might be mixed snow and rain.
So it can't
Having
accumulate.
the reservoir of water trapped in the snow just might not happen this year.
That's bad.
Yeah. So anyway, what have you been writing recently for Sherwood?
Well, I finished a series in spring, and I'm thinking about newer projects. Actually, Dave Trowbridge and I are refurbishing our space opera for the last time. We got all new covers, and Bookview Cafe is going to start putting them out in January, one a month. So
Exciting.
yeah, the interesting thing about refurbishing a project is you have these books were published in the 90s by Tor, and they actually started off as a screenplay back in the late 70s and early 80s. Dave and I stood in line to see Star Wars in 78, as we all did back then. In fact, we stood in line, got in line about 9:30 at night, and we got in at the 2:30 a.m. showing.
Oh my God. But
And
you were
when we
young
got
and
out-
foolish then.
Yeah.
When we got out at Grauman's Chinese, the 4 a.m. showing, the line was even longer than it had been.
Wow.
And of course, we went back a couple times. And then when we got back, we sat around and said, well, we could do a better job than that. I mean, it was awesome. It was fun. It was finally, science fiction was fun, because mostly in the 70s it wasn't. Anyway, it triggered off our idea, but we took it in completely different directions. It's not really
Good.
an homage to Star Wars so much as an homage to the big space opera feel that everybody's familiar with, and you could define as kind of a different subject. And we almost sold it. We were in auction with our Hollywood agent between HBO, which was brand new at the time, and CBS, which was the place for space opera. And then the May 1980 writer's strike happened, and it stretched all summer. So it killed big
your
6-hour projects
momentum.
like ours. And then pieces of it showed in another show, which I will not name because who knows who watches these things.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who stole had a reputation all over Hollywood for that, and also for being litigious. So, moving on, we decided to write it into books because then we could control everything. Anyway, we sold it to Tor. It came out in the 90s. It kind of got munched by the big uh, mass paperback revolution where they just all went. And so it really never took off. So anyway, we're reissuing it.
Yeah.
And I've gotten way out of.
For those of you who don't know, Sherwood's collaborator Dave Trowbridge is married to Deborah Ross, who
Yes.
shows up here periodically. But back in the 70s, when you wrote those books, they were not yet a couple.
No, we were with other people. Actually, I was with my husband at the time, but Dave had a couple of other relationships come and go in intervening years. We were always good buddies, but never a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was so glad when Deborah came into his life, because boy, she's such an awesome person.
Yes.
And anyway, so that's Exordium, but our subject was readings and how to prepare for them and what to watch out for. Yes.
Yes, that's
And
what
I want to hear about your
aiming
Hollywood
for.
training on this.
Yeah.
I don't have Hollywood training in reading or acting. I was a writer's secretary, among other. I wore many hats, but in the 70s, Hollywood very much had a glass ceiling. There were women all over, and they were doing, in some instances, most of the work, while men wore the hat. For instance, there was a show where the producer would come in his roles at 10 o'clock in the morning, sit on the phone for a couple hours, then go out to lunch until 4, and then he'd have his roles take him home. His secretary did all of the work, his female secretary. So I began to see that. I did unpaid script reading for another producer who wanted to make it big. And his secretary came down, warned me, and said, Sherwood, he's taking all of your ideas and he's saying they're his. So do you want to do something about that? And I thought, what? I can't afford a lawyer. And I am very much a beta person. I am not an alpha. I'm not a go in there. And the women who were making it in those days were very much, they had to be aggressive. So that was another reason why when the strike happened, I decided, I loved Hollywood for certain creative inspirations, but it was a crushing atmosphere for people unless you were just driven. And even then, that did not guarantee success if you didn't have connections. None of us did. So I had no training in Hollywood. Where my training came from was in theater in school and then after school. I rewrote plays and eventually, when I became a teacher, fell into directing, discovered that I really enjoyed it. And so I kept doing that and training the kids for years. You can't hear it in my voice now, but I used to be really good. I had a stroke 15 years ago, and although I recovered like 97%, there's that 3% that makes you precise and the ear for accents and so forth. I really don't have that well anymore, so I don't try accents. But I still have all the training that I have, and I give it to kids. And I also bring it to readings because I've been to readings where authors know their own work super well, but they sit there like this. And of course, the audience is talking to their friend or leaning forward to hear.
Or the cell phone.
Yes. Well,
they're holding their cell phone.
Yes. And so.
I came up into the writing world through the romance community. And so many of them, were bright and bubbly and super enthusiastic among their peers. But you put them in front of an audience and they just hunker down and they hide behind the book. And you ask them to do a speaking engagement, like at a like we do, SF people do at cons, and I could never do that. I could never put myself out like that. And I run into the same attitude with people who love my books but cannot bring themselves to write a review. It would just be too much, putting too
Offer to write it for them, for the love of God.
Yeah, well, let me write the review and you post it
Well,
under
this is
your
what
name.
AI is for. All those spammy letters. I've been peeling out sentences from these laudatory scammers and keeping them. So if anyone asks you, hey, try this sentence on for size, and then go over to Amazon and put it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know that J.R.R. Tolkien had the reputation of being a lousy reader aloud. He would look at his manuscript and not speak into the mic.
I've heard recordings of him, and you can't understand anything. Well, what's the several problems? And then they said,
It is too bad because, you know, on the page, obviously he can make the words
Yes.
rise up and shine, but in it's a entirely different skill to do it with your mouth and your face. And in the
so
day,
it is with authors recording their own books. I've listened to a few, and the upside is they know what the characters are like, and they know where the emphasis sometimes falls. At least they know where the jokes are, but they don't read well.
Yeah.
Also, they don't record well. That's another problem, is you get all these mouth noises, and you get a plane overhead, and they're concentrating so hard they don't hear the noises outside. So you have a recording where you're getting busy in the background.
Yes.
You need a recording studio
Yes.
to cut out all that stuff, or engineering chops.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Do you have any
and
recommendations?
the technology has developed so much. You know, one of Tolkien's problems, I'm sure, was that the mic was like right here and you had to be at the right distance from it.
Yes.
And nowadays they can put it, you know, onto your head or something. And so it never is at the wrong distance because it's strapped to your skull. But, you know, there's still a technique to doing this, that it is possible to make yourself completely inaudible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you really try.
Or just not to read it well.
Right.
One of the things I think people don't know, one of the problems with AI read books as they are now, who knows what's going to happen in 5 years, is that though Audible and some of these other companies have developed interesting voices with various accents. You get a man with a deep voice or a man with a light tenor, and various women's voices, the gushy romantic one and the somewhat brassy New York one, so forth. But they don't know where the emphasis is in lines, because this is not a human being hearing it. And so they don't know the nuances. For instance, take the word language. You'll hear the word language in a sentence and you think we're talking about English, German, whatever. But actually, a lot of times people are using language as a stand-in for cursing.
Mm-hmm.
And
no
so,
strong language in this house, little young man.
yes. Well, and I didn't even use language. So why was he angry with me? Well, that won't make sense to an AI, because of course you're using language. That's what you speak in. But the implication is I did not use bad language. So there's millions of those in English. English is a spaghetti of a language. It borrows from everything and turns meanings around. And of course, the French do that too. They delight in turning their words inside out.
Yeah.
So you got to be aware of those things when you're reading. And that's, I think, why a lot of the AI read novels are very flat.
Yeah. I have a severe hearing disability, and I do wear hearing aids, which helps me tremendously. But I have problems differentiating vowel sounds. And that's where the definition of the word comes from. Like and lake,
Yes.
you know, but that, you know, things like that. And AI doesn't hear lake, they hear like. And so I can't hike around like Mirror Lake. That's something entirely different from Mirror Lake. So, and the auto prompt and autocorrect on phones, how many hours on Facebook are wasted with
Auto
those?
carrot, I hear people calling it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So yeah, the author reading aloud is a tremendous marketing tool. So, Powell's asks you to come and do a book signing and to read for 20 minutes and question and answer beforehand. How do you get ready for that?
Oh,
Yeah.
I wrote an article for SIFWA, which is coming out on in their online magazine Planet Side, which goes deeply into this because that's the drive of the publication. What you should do, step by step, and it's surprisingly challenging. You can't just pick up your own book and crack it open and read aloud from it.
No.
It's Charles Dickens is famous for having two separate versions of some of his great scenes. The scene in Oliver Twist when Nancy dies, murdered by her rat boyfriend, Bill Sikes. He wrote two versions of that, one for reading aloud and one in the book, which is the one that most people see. But if you go back and look for it, it exists, his reading copy. And he went through and changed things in it to make it more readable. Descriptions get shortened. A little additions are put in. You don't remember who Bill Sikes is, but at the beginning he'll say essentially, and Bill Sikes, Nancy's rat boyfriend, grips her by the neck, and so he clues us in because we're listeners and not readers. You can't flip back and see who Bill Sikes is.
And cutting speech tags. I think
Yes.
generally it's not a good idea to read a climactic scene, even though it's full of action and deep emotion. But the problem most of the time I found as a listener is that for the author is already immersed in that world and is devoted to those characters. And the reader who has come that far in the book is also deeply immersed in the characters. But coming on it cold, you don't know who they are, so you don't care if it's a battle scene. It's just crash and bang without any real context. And it's the emotional context that grips people. My general suggestion has been, and it doesn't work for everybody, is if you're in a situation where it's not full of fans who are already familiar and want to hear that scene read by you, then pick something that has a little bit of humor, at least at the beginning, because humor is the great leveler. It gets everybody a little bit closer. Everybody loves to laugh. Now, I talked to one author once, and she was scared stiff about the situation. And she said, "But I don't write funny. I don't write anything funny." And I said, well, then I think maybe the thing to do is to go for one specific emotion that gets you into the main character so that people want to hear about that person. A scene. Chapter ones are supposed to do that. A chapter one is usually a good one to begin with, unless it turns out to be, informational.
Yeah.
You want a good on-ramp into the work.
Yes.
That's not necessarily, the interchange at the end. You want to get on and in.
Yeah. A prologue very often is a good place to read from, especially if it outlines, not describes, but outlines the world and the crucial conflict of the plot.
Yeah, and it functioned in form. It's the equivalent of a flash fiction, very short and contained, and gives you a feeling, as Phil says, of the world and the emotion the author wants to evoke. That's a great idea.
Yeah. That's what I usually put up as a teaser on the marketing page of the bookstore. Is a sneak peek at the book. I will very often just do the prologue or part of the prologue to keep me under the 1,000-word limit. But and a prologue is out of place, out of time, and out of point of view of the rest of the book.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
that makes it, more omniscient, where you can sit back here and just tell what's happening rather than right up here in front in your face. So that is my personal, and you don't have to thumb through 300 pages of the book to find it.
Yeah.
Which is something another point. Once you decide what you're going to read, read it aloud. Close the door to your office. Go out on the deck and talk to the woodpeckers or whatever. But read it aloud several times before you go to your event. And if it helps, print it out at 150% size type so you can see it. In Because your lighting is very often going to be weird.
I have sat in readings where the guy had brought in a laptop and he's balancing it on a music stand on three very rickety legs. And no
Mhm.
one's listening to the reading. We're all watching, waiting for that laptop to go crashing to the floor and explode in bits. It's like,
Yeah, no,
don't do that to
yes,
yourself. And, the laptop's not going to get better either after that
no.
happens.
Printing it out is a better
Yes.
option.
Yes.
And enlarge the font
Yeah.
until it's comfortable.
Paper is cheap.
Paper's cheap
Or
these
or
days.
or a tablet, because
Or a
then you
tablet.
don't
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
the problem of flipping pages and sometimes dropping them.
Yeah.
Well, you want to be sure that your venue has a really nice Wi-Fi. You have connectivity. If
If you have it in a PDF form, you
right, then
don't
you're
have to
okay.
worry about that.
Right.
Mhm.
To time it is also important because
Yes.
particularly if you only have a limited space of time to read, they're not going to let you run over by 10 minutes. So
No.
you should, if you don't,
Mhm.
if you, when you're standing out there on the deck and reading to the woodpeckers, have your clock running so you get an idea of how long it is. Uh,
Mhm.
I print out my readings and then just write it on the top at the front. This is a 15-minute reading. So I have
Mhm.
it and I don't have to recalculate it every time I need one.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a file folder
Mhm.
full of readings.
Right. I have a 3-ring binder.
Mhm.
Somtao, I think his last name is Sucharichkul. He's the from Thailand, and he wrote fantasy novels, but he is now a musician. And when he was a science fiction writer, he passed on his wisdom to me about readings, and he
Mhm.
printed them out and put them into page protectors with the 3-ring holes in them, and so he could write on the page with a transparent marker for every reading. And
Mhm.
depending on the venue, he would write louder and louder. He would remind himself about the pronunciation of key words, or he would just it was the sort of thing that a professional theater person would do. You have your
Mhm.
sides. This is mine.
Right. And
Words of emphasis.
Yep.
right.
Right.
And we are used to putting things in quotes or underlining them or italicizing them. Um, and but especially if you're using a sheet protector, the
Mhm.
lighting in the venue is not going to be consistent, and you're going to get reflections
Mhm.
on those sheet protectors.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're great in your office,
or
but
in a big meeting setting. But if you're standing in a coffee shop with indifferent lighting,
yeah,
I
yeah,
will
I
say
think
that is an encouraging modern development, though, is that a lot more readings are being done in a more casual format. It's
right.
not like always at conventions, but around here, I would say that every third coffee shop does readings, usually open
Hmm.
mic.
And
Yeah,
if you
page
know,
protectors were a good idea 30 years ago, but now that we have tablets, that's usually what
yeah,
I suggest. If you have a large enough one
yeah,
and
and I
put it
don't know if
PDF.
there's an app for the written word, but Maya Bonhoff, who has visited our show, um, has an app on her iPad, and it was designed by a musician for musicians, and you can set the scrolling speed
Mm-hmm.
where the text moves upward. You don't have to change your eye, look up, look down, look to the side to find where you were 3 seconds ago.
Mm-hmm.
It just scrolls at a steady speed, and I believe you can pause it.
Mm-hmm. That's the other thing you do want to do is if you're standing there reading, you do want to look up at your audience. That's that
Hmm.
whole connection to your audience thing.
Yes.
Look up and, pick a random audience member and make eye contact with them,
Yes,
just so that you're not a drone sitting there with your face pressed to your screen reading.
Well,
right.
also you can assess the room too.
Right.
That's when it takes a while to train yourself to do that. And I think that's one of the things that was I found as an advantage because I was a teacher for so long. You're constantly assessing the students because you've got to catch them right before the moment their attention slides, because then they're going to get in trouble because they're kids. They live in the moment. And if they're
Mhm.
not tracking what you're talking about, they're going to look for something else to amuse them. So you've got to be
Mhm.
on the watch. And if you see your audience all not quite paying attention or leaning forward, then you need to bring up your volume and
Mhm.
possibly intensify it. What Deborah Doyle used to call turning your personality, the volume up on your personality to 11, not
Mm-hmm.
just loudness.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So you infuse your reading with more emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I've been in conversations with a number of people. The minute they open their mouth and they talk through their hand,
Oh, that drives me nuts.
and I have reached over and grabbed the hand and pulled it down and said, "Talk to me, not your wrist."
I
Um,
don't know whether they're worried about their breath or with their teeth or what.
yeah,
Or they've been trained not to spit on people.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
it was in etiquette books a long time ago. You
You're
yeah,
out of
usually
your mind.
talk behind your fan.
uh-huh. But when you're doing a public reading, those rules do not apply.
Do you folks have any recommendations to address the emotional side of things? Because I know so many writers who are terrified of public speaking, and I know some of them are probably sitting out there being like, okay, I know I am supposed to do this, but how do I actually get myself to do this?
One of the
That is
things
where
you can
having a
do,
piece of paper really helps. You can
Mhm.
write it in the margin in red marker in, block letters, look up, smile. You can do
Mhm.
that and whenever you feel that it would be a good time to do that. And that at least it cues you to do it.
Right. And practice. Know your material inside out, upside down, and backwards. That so you don't have to think.
Mhm.
I'm up here before an audience.
the
You
problem
just.
with practicing is if you don't know what you're doing, you can just grind bad habits into yourself. You
Mhm.
need
Yeah.
an audience to practice with, the person who you trust enough to say, my mind started sliding on paragraph 3. The problem with a lot of these writers is that they are introverts, and that's why they
Right.
became writers. They're
Right.
not the
Mhm.
person who wants to be on stage and stared at. And I know 2 writers who have somebody read for them, and they explain.
Yeah.
They come up and explain, I'm here for questions, and I will answer questions, but I can't read. It won't be fair to me, and it won't be fair to you, and it won't be fair to the book. Here's my friend, blah, blah, who is really good at reading, and we've worked together, and you're hearing it the way I would read it if I could.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it works.
And
People
If you
are
really
used to
can't,
hearing
go for
books
it.
now more so than they used to. I think for a long time, the only way you could get a live reading is to go to a live reading. But
Yeah.
now there's so many audio books and YouTube videos. God only knows Bookview Cafe has its own YouTube video. You can find us all reading there. Just click over there and look. But you can. People are more used to now absorbing a book through their ears.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's true.
Okay.
Audiobooks are a thing. Let me
Yeah.
focus.
I've been remiss. I'm working on my old laptop because the camera on my new laptop doesn't work. But anyway, I just found a way to turn on all the comments on the side of
Oh,
the
very good.
screen. And it's usually my job to read, through them and repeat them to the audience at large. Uh, and too many people speak in a monotone. Thank you, Cheryl Alexandra Xander.
Mhm.
And Radcon Bob, our dear beloved Bobby. My sister is blind. I'm going to set it up for her. The rest you can listen if you want.
Mhm.
Um, and live and live. Okay, yeah, as an example of AI not knowing what you're. Um, and there are some good reasons for the AI voice from Bob, because blind sister, Brenda when she's got an eye patch. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning, all of you. uh, yeah, okay. We're caught up on the chat on the sidelines.
It
Um,
is uh, the idea of having someone else read for you. It has
mm,
great charm because there are some people who are dynamite readers. People
yes.
Yeah.
who have vocal training, people who are really know what they're doing. I took some acting classes in conjunction with the book I'm writing right now, and it is astonishing how professional, how much work goes into this. It's a
Hmm.
whole skill set. It
Hmm.
is at least as important a skill in the industry as catching footballs is for people in the NFL. Uh, I don't know if an amateur really should read their own book because there are professionals who can make work like deities on this. And I guess the only problem is you can't afford them. That's why we wind up
Yeah.
doing AI. It's
Yeah.
because the I don't think I can pay a voice actor what they're worth.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the crux for a lot of indie writers, is
Right.
that they can't afford to produce audiobooks. There's some who just do their own for whatever reasons, and that's fine. But if you want the book to be the best it can be, it's great if you can fall into a situation where you can get a very good reader, and also the person who knows the tech to
Mhm.
prepare it, get it up.
Absolutely. The number of people who believe you can just sit there with your cell phone and record your book is kind of frightening. And I've watched other people set it up, and it's not cheap to set up your own sound studio, even in your closet.
Yep.
Mhm.
By the time you grind all the things through that you need to do, you have invested something serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jen Stevenson, one of our BVC people, her husband set her up a
Right.
uh, a sound
Mhm.
studio. Boy, he put a ton of work into it.
He is a professional theater guy, so he knows
Yes.
how to do
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
He made
That's
her
right.
do it right, but
Yes.
I'm certain that A, it took his full expertise, and C, it was
Yep.
not free. So
Yeah. Yeah.
any way you look at it, you've got to put in some front end on this. And I don't know what, I would love to see my Marion books out in audio form because I think they'd be fun, but I have no idea how to do it. I
Yeah.
don't think I could do it. And I shouldn't do it. So then I need to find someone to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the tech will get better in a few years where, I mean, 10 years ago, we did not know that we could actually produce really beautiful print-on-demand books. They looked pretty clunky 10 years ago. So who knows what's going to come along tech-wise in the next few years. But we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And also,
Okay. We have a comment from Susan Omberg Caro. I think people make the mistake of thinking that because they are uncomfortable or afraid of public speaking, they aren't good at it. These are really different things. You can be really nervous and also really good. Many people who are really good public speakers are also really anxious about it every time. And when I was active in high school and college theater, I had a director say, if you aren't afraid when you step on stage, something is wrong. And it's that nervous tension that gives your performance that edge, makes it real for the audience.
the adrenaline rush.
Yeah. So, and the same advice is given on numerous military movies. I'm afraid. That's what's going to keep you alive. So, yeah. But prepare. Don't go into it cold. I'm too used to going into things cold. Improv, if you like, you can look at science fiction convention panels as improv. But so I don't prepare like I should.
It is, you can learn, if you do this enough, it's like anything else, you get practiced at reading aloud and you can do it. It is, in fact, that would be a good thing to do. You could practice reading to your pets. If you really have nerve issues, you have a cat, let her earn her chow.
Yeah, and dogs are better listeners.
Yeah, really. Cats just give you that look like, you thought that was a really good plot point. Honestly, Mom. Never would have had sex with him at that moment. That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
I've heard about people taking improv classes to get better at sales. I wonder if that would work for writers and marketing themselves too.
I took an
There's a
improv
problem
class at
with-
PSU, at Portland State University. And I don't think but what I learn is that it really is improv, but somehow practicing improvisation helps you to do it. It's like you get into the groove. There is also with improv, you have a group of people you're doing it with. It's not like stand-up comedy, and you get to know your team. That's why so many great improv or comedy teams are a group, like Saturday Night Live, the way the gang, Chevy Chase and Gilda Radner and John Belushi, they were a group and they sort of knew how to work together. So practice really does help.
right.
And working with an audience. And that actually works for writing too.
Yes.
There are a couple of interesting books out about how the Inklings and earlier Byron and his company all produced more work when they had an audience. Their group of people who loved their work and gave them feedback. I think the one problem with reading out loud and editing your book is because you can read it out loud and hear where this prepositional phrase is way in the wrong place, or wow, this sentence is really boring. It never ends. I've got to fix it up. The one problem I've found with that in talking to people is that sometimes you get so bound up in focusing on performance, you forget about the writing. And so, and the evidence would be a really good reader reading a really bad book, badly written book, and making it sound better just because they're so professional.
Yeah, I've just discarded a couple books on my Nook that obviously had never been read aloud by the author or anybody else, and where a paragraph can occupy 3 pages without a comma.
There are books that, uh, uh, on the page, I don't understand how the author could have written them, but they clearly cannot be read aloud. And it is,
Mhm.
uh, and it's not necessarily even the old books. I think that you could probably read War and Peace aloud fairly well, but some
A
modern
good
writers, oh my
translation.
God,
Yeah, in
Well, there
translation.
a more post-structuralist narrative voice is not meant to be read aloud. It's meant to be
exactly.
read uh, in the mind, and so they're going for a different effect.
Hmm. Cheryl Alexander, and I've forgotten what thread she was replying to, but our comment is, why not? Football players used to take ballet to help with their motion. Hey, I've taught football players how to do
Hmm.
ballet.
Hmm.
And it's, learning to make your entire body work together. I
Hmm.
used to tell my 5-year-olds that the smile on this, yeah, what is it? What was it? Something about the tilt of your nose begins on with your toes.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew you'd remember that one. It's the entire body working together, and football players, as any athlete
Hmm.
needs to know that the angle of the arm is reflected in the knee. And ballet is a wonderful medium for teaching you that, teaching you to be conscious of every muscle in your body, not just the ones that are throwing the ball.
Also,
Hmm.
martial arts.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So, we've got 13 minutes. Is it time to start pimping our own books? Sherwood, do you have any covers or links or anything you want to push or talk about?
Well,
You have the
you could.
cover of the thing coming out in January. You must have the cover.
I don't know how to do that with
Mm.
this whole setup, but
Yeah,
you could
there's a way
find
to
it.
hand Bob the PDF and then he can put it up. But I don't think you can do it on the fly.
Yeah,
No.
or
Uh,
sending it as an attachment to an email to Bob.
Yeah,
And,
that
I
is
would.
hard.
yeah.
I have put up a link to Bookview Cafe's YouTube channel, and it's over in comments. And you can, I do some reading. I don't know if you have done some reading on there, Sherwood, but other people,
I've done
some
a
of us have
couple.
put up some, and uh,
I did
for
about
greater,
four
that's
right
the
in a
sort of thing
row
where you're
at
sitting
Jen's
with your cell
house.
phone. Say again,
Mhm.
Sherwood.
I did about four in a row after an afternoon walk when I was tired and sweaty. I probably shouldn't have at Jen's house. It was more to play around with the with the tech, but
Mm-hmm.
anyway, they are up there. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I have a couple up there as well, including the one where I had not had my first cup of coffee, and I was in my bathrobe. But
We mostly use, as far as tech goes, my husband has a cell phone and we prop things up on sofa cushions. And I think that that's okay for the kind of thing that you do in your living room, a reading in your living room. I don't think that would be a good idea for an entire book view recording, which is a separate thing. But these
mhm,
little things on YouTube are just sort of, they're just
two or
bits
three
of
minutes.
books.
Yeah,
They're not the entire
yeah,
audio
no.
book.
they're 10 minutes.
Yeah, they can't be longer than that because uh, uh, Dropbox doesn't let you manage files much bigger than that.
Yeah,
Yeah, the ones I
and
did were
and
more like 3 minutes.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So, but
I've gotten it up to 10, but after a certain point, Dropbox begins to choke, and so you
right,
can't push that envelope.
and your audience's eyes start to glow.
I got no audience. I've got my cat and my husband who's jittering at the back, thinking techie thoughts.
Yeah,
So, but it
but
is okay. But that's also not a bad practice. You learn to look at the goddamn camera, and it has the great virtue of being free, and you can do it in your living room.
yeah, and that being in a comfortable setting makes reading aloud a lot easier when for some,
Hmm.
and for some, having the podium and a darkened audience is better. It just depends on you and your personality, where you are most comfortable. But if recording it in your living room makes a difference, then do it.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is that when you're reading in the wild, if you're going to a convention or to a bookstore or to a coffee shop, you don't have control over a lot of those elements.
Hmm.
The bookstore's got it set up, and you're going to do that because they can't reconfigure. Uh, so it's if you really want to pursue this, you should. It's worth trying to find free and low key places to practice. And around in my town, every third coffee shop is raking people in by doing stuff like this. They have open mic nights for poetry. They have open mic nights for true story accounts. There's a whole separate thing tied to uh, telling your story extempore aloud. It's a separate form that people do. And to do that, to get good at that, the only way you can do it is to stand in front of a mic and tell once again the story about how you and your client, how he committed suicide before you could get him to trial or whatever it was. And
Hmm.
it is uh, the only way you can practice it. And so they have these open mics, and they have open mics for reading from your book as well. And that's interesting, but it's free and it's painless. And when you're listening to your other readers balancing their laptops on an inadequate music stand with 1 candle watt of light shining, then you do realize that, yeah, it's a real low bar and you can get over it.
Hmm.
Yeah, there are a lot of venues that are just happy for programming. I've spoken at a lot of shops in my area that are just like, I mean, you want to give people something to come see, we are happy to host you. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, and they will they're happy to have you. They want people to come in and buy cups of coffee or pastry or whatever it is. A shop like that needs the foot traffic, and this is the way to generate the foot traffic.
Yeah, but don't forget, you as the reader need to put it up on your social media.
Yes, absolutely.
Whatever,
They're counting on you to do that.
yeah, whatever platform is your preference, post it and repeat the post several times
Hmm.
over the week before your
Hmm.
appearance. Not, let them know 2 months ahead, but then start hitting them heavy the last week
yeah.
before.
Yes, just so that suddenly my doctor's appointment has changed. I am free to go to Phil's reading, and so you zip on over and you sit down at the back, and you're happy.
Right,
Yes, yes.
right.
So yeah, there is a whole uh, if it depends on where you live. I don't know whether every town has that kind of culture, but around here, I would say that every third coffee shop has books in it, and they do readings
Right.
or open
And
mic.
and Portland has a coffee shop sometimes too on every block downtown.
Yeah.
I am sitting here, and I do not think I can count the number of coffee shops within walking distance. There are new ones every day, and they just turn up. You look around a corner, and God darn it, there's another coffee shop. So
Yeah, and
there's nothing to be done.
I have friends who own a tea shop in a smaller city in Michigan, and they are eager for programming. And it
Hmm.
really helps them out because there aren't as many cultural events in their city. So they're like, if anyone who's an author, an artist, anything like that wants to come speak, it really helps us get foot traffic in. So,
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm. You could, as it's the same thing as with science fiction conventions, you could probably spend every week of your life in a different town at a different reading somewhere. And the problem that you're balancing is, the cost of flying to Michigan. At that point, maybe it's not worth your while. So if you are the reading author, you sort of have to sort of pace yourself.
Okay. Another comment from Cheryl Alexander. If one doesn't take an improv course, a public speaking class
Hmm.
is good too. Toastmasters can be helpful too.
Hmm.
Um, Community colleges very often have very cheap or free public speaking classes in their community school programs. Um, but I live 40 miles from my community college,
Hmm.
but I'm 2 miles from 6 coffee shops.
Mhm. Well, you've done enough conventions and you've done enough readings. You know, at this point, maybe taking a class in acting is academic for you.
Yeah.
If you that is the actual thing that all of these classes would do for you, they just get you practice. And
Mhm.
uh if you feel with your audience and if you look up and look at them, don't be J.R.R. Tolkien, then it does help. You know, you do learn.
Mhm. And one thing I learned when I was working in a museum, excuse me, and we did festivals.
Hmm.
Um, we had a storyteller who came to every one of them, and he had a wagon wheel, and he was actually spinning pottery in the center of this wagon wheel. You know, have it had a staff to hook into the spokes to keep the wheel turning, and he'd tell stories using the rhythm of the wheel to keep him going.
Oh my God.
And it was he was fascinating. And at the end of his spiel of two or three anecdotes in history, which he augmented with voices and dialogue and stuff, he'd have a finished pot, which would then go to the kiln and would show up at the next festival as a finished item. Um, that is a skill
Mhm.
of storytellers who are bards, call them whatever you will,
Right.
who use the vocal. Um, and the first anthology I ever edited, the first story that was submitted, came from a school teacher in Indonesia.
Mhm.
And I could tell by the way the story was constructed that he was a wonderful bard. And you have repetitions of phrases and rhythms, and you know there's skills
Mhm.
involved in storytelling vocally
Mhm.
that you don't or can't use in the written word. It took extensive editing and putting into idiomatic English to get that story in shape, but it was a wonderful story, and it's one of my favorites.
You can read it in translations of Homer, which of course originally was an oral poem.
Hmm.
You can see the oral tricks that are the bard is using to keep it on track, that the places where he needs something to put in the line, and that's why uh uh Aphrodite always has the shining breasts or whatever it is. There's various verbal tricks
Hmm.
that we don't use on the page. They're
Homeric
only
epithets.
for yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a whole suite of them. You can see it. You can analyze it if people have analyzed it. But it's the trick of the spoken word. So it essentially, if you wind up reading a lot and then you wind up not using your page and just sort of flying off into space without it, then maybe that is your thing. You can do the oral storytelling, uh, which is now a thing now. There are competitions of people who just get up and tell a story,
Hmm.
without a written page in front of them. It's all oral. There's no written. You're
Right.
not allowed to have notes.
Right. And there's a difference between the written word and the spoken word.
Mhm.
So keep that in mind. And Bobby is back. Mhm.
Let me just add a note to what you guys have been saying. Some of the One of
Yeah.
the reasons I'm not worried about doing readings is I did like 7 years of radio,
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
and the all the little um, nuances you get out of hearing yourself read. Try recording yourself reading sometime if you want to really find humility, uh,
Mhm.
but also improvement. And another little note, kind of like what Cliff Winnig put, one of the best reader opportunities I ever found was most most haunted cornfields and other events around Halloween will have a horror storyteller. Somebody that sits out in the corner and tells stories to the kids that are just to entertain. Listen to those guys. If you go, they're good, and the the written word can only do so much when the spoken word can bring the written word to life. So pay attention. If you get an opportunity, pay attention to those guys, and it will surprise you. Now we are coming to the end, and I've noticed that a couple of you guys have been very quiet as we've approached the end. I'm not talking about you, Claire. Oh wait, yes, I am. And
she's too quiet.
Also Sherwood. So I would like to hear a complete thought out of you on the topics that we've been talking about, of something you feel like maybe didn't get pounded on the ground strong enough. And if I picked on Sherwood first to do that, is there anything that you really believe should be added to the conversation?
I think we've covered everything pretty well. If somebody had a question, they could do it in the chat that I don't see. It could be conveyed.
Okay,
Claire,
then
over to
somebody
you.
pop a question. It's Stump the Chump time. You're not a chump, but it's an old expression. And then I'll go back to Claire with the same question. If you could if you had something to add to this conversation that you hadn't said, what would it be?
I also think we've covered a good wide range of topics. I'm glad we got both the technical and the what to do if you have crippling stage fright side in. So,
well, that's excellent. Because I like to think of this as very similar to a science fiction panel. And if you're the moderator, which I'm really not, that's the two ladies in red, or pink, I can't tell.
I'm in red. I have an ugly Christmas sweater on.
It's I defer to them to reach into the ether and yank out all that is waiting to be said that maybe not get said, and say thank you. You guys apparently, based on the feedback, have done a great job on that one. And I am kind of disappointed though in Brenda. I was expecting an eye patch.
No, I have it, but I'm trying to get out of it. I had retinal surgery earlier this month, and I have 2 more ops coming up. It's so annoying. I have my eye patch, but I'm trying not to use it too much because I would want to encourage the bad eye to actually get better. And if you cover your eye long enough, it just throws in the towel and says, well, I might as well give up. No more vision. They use eye patches to train kids with lazy eye. You cover the stronger eye, so the weaker eye is forced to get its act together. And that works if you're a younger kid, but you can also really do a number on yourself by covering it for too long. I'm trying to encourage the vision to actually get better, which it allegedly is going to do.
I can understand. That is a pain. Retinal surgery. I had one where they had to slice the eyeball open, drained out all the fluid, inflated it, which was fun, or sewed it up, inflated it, and then they said, "Oh, by the way, the incisions are on the back of the eye, so you will have to lay down, face down, for the next 6 weeks." Oh, Claire, you've had that?
I have not, but a friend of mine has, and her boyfriend built her a special platform so she could lie face down with her forehead on something and still read something that was underneath her.
Massage table.
Yeah, you can get a massage table to do that.
The greatest part about that is that as your eye slowly fills up, you'll be looking out at a half full fish tank. But when you're looking down, you don't need glasses anymore because it turns into a magnification device at some point for a while.
Yep.
And amazing stuff they can do to the eyes these days.
It is
Okay,
amazing, and
people.
anything's better than going blind.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I
you
have a
put
new
up with all this
book.
shit because of
I
that.
have a brand new book coming out on Tuesday.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
It is 9 Nutcrackers Whistling.
Okay.
It's the 5th book in my Whistling River Lodge Cozy Mystery series. You can pre-order on most of the major markets, but it'll be live on the Bookview Cafe on Tuesday.
Yay.
All right. Yeah. Any new
Okay.
books coming out from anybody else? Because
I've put the
I'll pick
link to the
coming
one
out.
of mine that came out earlier this year, and I'm finally put it onto the calendar, Phil. The novel that I'm writing that revolves around the theater industry in the 22nd century is coming out next April.
April. Okay.
And it is about theater, and it's about and this is the one where I rebooted American governance. That was very nice.
Yeah.
So I fixed it all. Democracy is repaired, but only in fiction.
Right. And the book she put up in the chat room, Sharks, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. It is an awesome book.
I have never written something so complex and so full of theme. There you go. But
Yeah.
I'm
Rock, sex,
horrified at
and
how
rock and
tight
roll.
that book is and how all the bits
Yeah.
lock together.
The
And I
actual,
swear I do not plan these things. They just sort of happen. And so I'm just sort of a
yeah.
conduit. It's frightening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say thank you all for coming, and thank you all for providing excellent input and denying us the eye patch vision, but we'll forgive you for that.
Here, we'll put it somewhere.
The
Oh wait, here it is. I found it. Okay, I put it in with my knitting. There you go.
there we go. Is
Yeah,
that upside down?
I have to wear this particularly on the street because if I get too dizzy, I fall over.
Well, that's a good thing. We don't want you falling over. Well,
Yeah.
now that we've had the eye patch
Mm-hmm.
and a book on drugs, sex, rock and roll, and sharks, and don't
Wonderful
worry, I
book,
hear
too.
Pete Hegseth is going to buy your book and keep it on his desk as an excuse for bombing boats. So you guys take care, and thank you, Sherwood and Phil, Clare, Barbara, and
Thank you for inviting
by
me.
the way,
We'll say that again, Sherwood.
Thank you for inviting me.
oh,
It's always a
anytime.
pleasure.